No one ever talks about how fast a town can decide who you are. They talk about storms, droughts, and bad harvests, but not about how quickly a look can turn into a judgment, or how silence can become a weapon. That summer in the small ranch, town of Red Hollow, Montana, the air carried dust, heat, and something else, expectation. And it all began the morning Clara Bennett stepped off the train. She was 23 years old, carrying one suitcase and a life she had agreed to on paper, a mail-order marriage, a practical choice, a promise of safety in a world that had already taken too much from her. She didn't know yet that safety and danger sometimes wear the same face. Waiting near the platform stood Thomas Reed. He was 47, broad-shouldered, sunburned, and quiet in the way men become when life teaches them restraint. He removed his hat when he saw her, not as a show, but as a habit born of respect. No staring, no smiling, too wide, just a nod. Behind him, leaning against a wooden post outside the saloon, stood his younger brother. Luke Red. Luke was everything Thomas wasn't. Charming, loose-tongued, too comfortable being watched. When Clara's boots touched the platform, Luke noticed her the way a gambler notices a weak hand across the table. Not with curiosity, with intention. Clara felt it immediately, the strange pressure between her shoulders, like eyes pressing against her skin. She tightened her grip on the suitcase. Thomas introduced himself calmly. "Hey." Luke stepped in before she could answer. "So this is her," Luke said, smiling. "Town's been curious." Clara forced a polite nod. Luke took her bag without asking. His fingers lingered a second too long. "You sure you came for the right brother?" he joked. It sounded harmless. It wasn't. That evening, as the wagon rolled toward the Reed Ranch, Clara watched Red Hollow fade behind them. She told herself this was normal, that nerves came with new beginnings. She didn't yet understand that. Some men don't wait for permission. Life on the ranch settled into routine. Thomas kept his distance, not cold, just careful. He showed her the land, the horses, the well. He never touched her without asking. Luke, on the other hand, was everywhere, fixing gates that didn't need fixing, offering advice no one requested. Watching Clara began to measure her movements, how long she stayed outside. Whether Thomas was within sight, Luke's voice always softened when they were alone. Town's not used to strangers. He'd say they'll warm up, eventually, but his eyes said something else. Thomas noticed the tension. He said nothing. Out. Here. Men didn't accuse without proof. The incident happened on a blazing afternoon near the far pasture. Clara wanted to learn to ride properly, not like a guest, like someone who belonged. Thomas walked beside the horse, steady and calm. A sudden noise cracked through the air. The horse startled. Clara slipped. Pain tore through her thigh as she hit the ground. Thomas knelt instantly, voice low and grounded. He lifted the hem of her skirt just enough to check the swelling. That's when Clara heard laughter in the distance. She grabbed his wrist. "Please. Don't, someone might see." Thomas paused only a moment. "If it's injured, we need to know," he said. He finished checking, then helped her stand. Neither of them saw the ranch hand watching from the road, but he saw everything, and by sunset. Red Hollow had a story by morning. The whispers had teeth. A woman at the general store stopped mid-sentence when Clara entered. A man outside the saloon laughed too loudly. Luke moved through town like a concerned hero, shaking his head. Lowering his voice, "People can be cruel," he said. "I just worry about her reputation." Then he found Clara alone near the barn. "You don't deserve this," Luke said gently. "But towns like this, they forgive slowly." He stepped closer. "I could help protect you." His hand hovered near her arm, not touching, but claiming. Clara finally understood. This wasn't help. This was leverage. That night, she asked Thomas only one thing. "Did I do something wrong?" Thomas sat beside her on the porch steps. "No." He said, "You got hurt. That's all." She believed him. Luke did not understand that trust could be stronger than fear. Luke didn't rush. Men like him never do. He waited for the town to sharpen its judgment. for Clara to feel isolated. Then he offered a solution. A short ride, he said. A quiet talk, just to settle things. Clara felt the unease but agreed. She didn't know Thomas had begun putting the pieces together, the timing, the whispers, the readiness. By the time he realized what Luke planned, the sun was already setting. The livery yard stood quiet under lantern light. Luke had the wagon ready, too ready. "You trust me, don't you?" he said, gripping her arm. Not rough, not yet. That's when Thomas's voice cut through the dark. "Let her go." The yard froze. Luke smiled. "Always late, brother." Thomas stepped forward. "This ends now." Luke shoved Clara aside. "Thomas." Hit him once. Hard. Years of restraint landed in that single blow. The fight wasn't loud, but it was final. Hands grabbed arms. Voices rose. Someone called for the sheriff. Luke tried to laugh it off. She agreed. He said. Clara stepped forward. "Didn't?" Her voice didn't shake. "He grabbed me. Told me I needed a proper husband." The silence that followed was heavy. Witnesses spoke, quiet men who had seen enough to know. The sheriff looked at Luke and saw what everyone had missed. Red Hollow woke differently. Quieter. Not kinder, but more honest. Luke stood alone. Thomas stood beside Clara, not shielding her. As present, no apologies came. None were needed. The town had chosen too quickly before this time. It chose carefully. As Clara and Thomas walked back toward the ranch, the cicadas hummed like they always had. "Will it always be this hard?" she asked. Thomas thought for a moment. "Some days," he said, "but no one else gets to decide who you are." Clara looked ahead for the first time. She believed it. Maybe this story isn't about scandal. Maybe it's about how easily we believe the wrong voice, and how dangerous silence becomes when it protects the powerful. So if you had been there, when the whispers started, when the looks changed, where would you have stood? Because one day it won't be a story, it will be a choice.